There are mornings when the body speaks before the mind fully awakens. A soft stiffness in the hands, a quiet weight in the knees, a sense that something inside needs a slower beginning. Many people over 60 know this moment well. It happens between the first breath of the day and the first step out of bed, when the body whispers its warnings in a language it didn't use years ago. Shigeaki Hinohara once compared aging to an old Japanese home. Long before a storm arrives, the wooden beams begin to creak, not to frighten, but to warn, not to collapse, but to communicate. Our bodies do the same. They creak a little, they ask for gentler care. They hint at the need for small adjustments long before a deeper issue sets in, and one of the most overlooked places where these early signals begin is on the plate. For decades, many of us ate without worrying about how a food might affect joint comfort or muscle strength. Breakfasts filled with sweetness, convenient deli meats, creamy dishes, or a glass of milk at night were simply part of daily life. Yet past 60, the inner workings of the body shift quietly. Digestion slows. Metabolism becomes more economical. Inflammation rises more easily. The tissues that once recovered without effort now ask for support. What once caused no harm may now trigger discomfort that shows up in the form of morning stiffness, slower steps, or a heaviness in the joints that seems to appear from nowhere. Dan Buettner, who studied communities where people routinely reach their 90s with grace, observed something profound. Longevity isn't only about what we add, but also about what we stop overlooking. The elders in those regions do not obsess over strict diets. Instead, they sense which foods calm the body and which ones stir up quiet inflammation. They make small, consistent choices that allow them to walk, bend, lift, and live without constant pain. Their wisdom is not built on restriction. It is built on awareness. That is the heart of this video. Not fear, not prohibition, awareness. The intention is not to take away your comfort, but to illuminate the foods that may be working against your strength without you realizing it. After 60, certain everyday foods begin to influence balance, recovery, and mobility. They do so slowly, silently, and consistently, and once you understand how they behave inside an aging body, the path to feeling better becomes clearer and lighter. Today, we will explore 5 of these common foods, not to create rules, but to offer perspective, not to impose restrictions, but to invite choices that support your joints, your muscles, your movement, and your independence. And most importantly, to offer alternatives that don't demand major sacrifices, only small adjustments that fit into the life you already live. Because you deserve comfort in your steps and ease in your hands. You deserve mornings that begin with possibility rather than pain. And every thoughtful choice you make now is an act of preserving not just your body, but your autonomy, your confidence, and your dignity. Let's begin, gently, with the foods that meet us at sunrise. There is a quiet moment every morning, often unnoticed, when the body reveals how it handled the day before. For many older adults, that moment arrives somewhere between the first sip of water and the act of reaching for something on the counter. The fingers feel slightly thicker, the knees hesitate, the joints carry a soft, dull heaviness that was not there years ago. It is a sensation so familiar that many accept it as part of aging, though it often has roots in the first choices made at breakfast. The foods that once energized now leave echoes of stiffness, and the reason is not weakness, but change. After 60, the body responds differently, and those gentle signals deserve attention. The overlooked morning habit, starting the day with refined grains or sweetened items that trigger a glucose surge, often followed by mid-morning heaviness in the knees or fingers, a link many seniors don't make. What many people do not realize is that a simple slice of toast with jam, or a bowl of instant cereal, or even a sweetened beverage can start a chain reaction inside the body before the day even begins. The glucose rises quickly, offering a brief sense of energy, but soon the hands may feel warm or tense, the knees may resist bending, and the fingers may feel swollen. These changes are subtle, almost shy, and because they appear slowly, they rarely get connected to the food that began the day. Yet in many older adults, the morning meal becomes the first quiet source of the discomfort felt hours later. The science behind glycation stiffness, how repetitive sugar spikes attach to collagen fibers in joints, making them less flexible, according to studies from Harvard and Mayo Clinic. Inside the joints, something else unfolds. When sugar rises repeatedly, it binds to collagen, the protein that gives flexibility to the tissues that allow us to bend, reach, and move with ease. Over time, these bindings act like small knots on a rope, reducing the joint's natural elasticity. Harvard and Mayo Clinic researchers have long described this effect known as glycation and how it contributes to stiffness with age. But understanding it in daily life simply means recognizing that repeated sugar surges make the joints feel older than they truly are. It is not punishment or failure. It is physiology meeting time. A surprising cultural insight. Okinawan elders traditionally avoid heavy or sugary breakfast foods, opting instead for warm broths or vegetables that reduce morning inflammation signals. Across the ocean in Okinawa, elders have lived this understanding for generations. Their mornings rarely begin with sweetness. Instead, they take in something warm and simple. A broth, a piece of soft vegetable, a bit of protein gently cooked. These foods neither spike the blood sugar nor burden the joints. They greet the body kindly, allowing it to warm up slowly. Their tradition reflects not discipline but respect for how the aging body wakes. A practical ritual, swapping the standard toast and jam routine for a warm, savory bowl using soft vegetables, a boiled egg, or a small serving of fermented soy. A transition that stabilizes morning energy and reduces joint pressure within days. For many older adults, such a shift does not require a full reinvention of breakfast. A small bowl with soft vegetables left from the night before, a boiled egg, or a spoonful of fermented soy can ease the morning strain without demanding extra effort. Warm, savory foods calm the body rather than push it into a sugar spike. Within a few days, morning energy feels more balanced, and the joints begin the day with less resistance. It is a simple gesture, gentle enough for someone living alone or someone moving through a period of grief or recovery. Metaphor. Think of your joints like the hinges of an old wooden door. They move freely when not coated with sticky residue. Excess sugar in the morning works like that residue, thickening movement over time. The joints, in truth, are not unlike the hinges of an old wooden door. When kept clean and respected, they move with surprising grace. But when coated with residue, even the slightest shift can produce friction. Morning sugars act like that residue, slowly building up and making the first hours of the day heavier than they need to be. When the hinges are cared for, the door opens quietly. When the body is cared for, the day begins with more ease. This is why understanding breakfast is so important. Not to blame a routine, but to offer a gentler beginning to the day. Because the first meal often sets the tone for how the rest of the body responds, and with small adjustments, the weight many feel in the morning can soften. The day can start not with struggle, but with steadiness. There comes a moment in many lives when cooking no longer feels like an act of joy, but a task that requires more strength than the day seems to offer. After 60, especially for those living alone or carrying grief, meals often become smaller, simpler, quicker. A sandwich instead of a cooked lunch, a slice of deli meat added to bread instead of a pot simmering on the stove. Convenience becomes a form of self-preservation, and while there is nothing wrong with choosing what feels manageable, some of these convenient foods carry hidden traits that the aging body struggles to negotiate, not dramatically, not overnight, but in slow, steady ways that touch muscle strength and daily energy. A hidden pattern. Deli meats, sausages, and pre-seasoned cuts become the quick option for many older adults with limited cooking motivation, yet their sodium nitrite content aggravates swelling and water retention, masking early signs of muscle decline. For many older adults, these meats appear to be practical choices. They store well, require little preparation, and offer a sense of familiarity. Yet the preservatives that keep them stable on the shelf, particularly sodium nitrites, often act silently. They can increase water retention in the tissues, creating a sense of puffiness that hides the beginning of muscle loss. On the surface, the legs may look full or the hands may appear slightly swollen, but underneath the muscle fibers may be losing strength more quickly than expected. This pattern rarely draws attention, especially when it blends seamlessly with the natural changes of aging. The under-discussed mechanism, nitrates and advanced preservatives, interfere with mitochondrial efficiency, the energy generators of muscle cells, leading to slower repair after minor strains. Inside the muscle cells, where strength is built and maintained, mitochondria work like small lanterns, providing the energy needed to move, lift, stand, and balance. Certain preservatives found in processed meats can dim these lanterns just enough to slow repair. A minor strain that once healed in a day might now linger for several, leaving the legs feeling heavier or the back more tender after simple tasks. This is not weakness of spirit. It is the natural consequence of a body trying to repair itself while managing chemical burdens it did not face decades ago. Counterintuitive revelation. Although these foods contain protein, they don't support muscle preservation as effectively as minimally processed sources. Cultures with exceptional longevity favor simpler protein sources like small portions of fish, legumes, or slow-cooked meats. The presence of protein inside processed meats can be misleading. While the grams may look promising on the package, the quality of that protein is often compromised by additives that interfere with absorption and repair. This is why long-lived cultures, from the Mediterranean to parts of Asia, often choose proteins that are humble, unprocessed, and prepared slowly. A piece of fish, a stew of beans, a portion of gently cooked meat, these nourish the muscles without introducing compounds that compete with the body's ability to recover. A simple habit shift, preparing a batch of plain cooked chicken thighs or beans once a week to replace high preservative meats, providing steady protein without chemical irritants. For someone who lives alone or feels fatigue easily, a small pot of beans or a tray of lightly seasoned chicken thighs prepared once a week can become a quiet act of self-care. These foods keep well, require no daily effort, and offer protein without preservatives that burden the mitochondria. It is not a dramatic change, but a compassionate one, a way of feeding the body with something closer to what it recognizes and can use fully. Emotional metaphor. Your muscles are like a team of workers repairing a house. Preservatives are the equivalent of foggy lights in the workshop. The workers are present but can't perform at full capacity. Imagine your muscles as dedicated workers inside a home you have lived in for decades. They show up every day. They patch the cracks, strengthen the beams, and support the structure. But when preservatives enter the system, it is as if the lights in their workshop grow dim. The workers are still there, still trying, but unable to see their tools clearly. Progress slows. Repairs take longer. The structure begins to feel less steady, not because the workers are lazy, but because the light they depend on has been clouded. This understanding does not demand dramatic changes or difficult commitments. It simply sheds light on how certain foods can quietly influence strength, especially in a stage of life when every bit of muscle matters. Preserving mobility, confidence, and independence often begins in these small unseen places. The choice is made when energy is low and convenience feels like a lifeline. When those choices become just a little kinder to the body responds in ways that restore not only strength, but hope. There are foods that feel like a warm blanket over the years, soups that softened winter evenings, casseroles that filled the house with familiar scents, baked dishes shared with family long before life grew quieter. After 60, these meals often become a source of comfort, especially for those living alone or moving through loss. Yet the same foods that soothe the heart can, without warning, irritate the body in subtle ways. Many older adults notice that after certain meals, the lower back feels tighter, the hips ache when getting out of a chair, or the body stiffens more than usual while walking. These sensations rarely point back to the plate, but the connection is more intimate than most people realize. The reason often lies in the oils used in many popular comfort foods. Creamy soups, baked goods, packaged casseroles, and ready-made dishes frequently contain vegetable oils rich in omega-6 fats. These oils are inexpensive and convenient, which is why they became so common in modern cooking. But for aging joints, especially those already worn by years of repetitive work or past injuries, they can quietly stir up inflammation. This doesn't happen with dramatic flair. It builds slowly, settling into the tissues in ways that make movements feel heavier, more sensitive, and less fluid. Research from Oxford has shown how an imbalance between omega-6 and omega-3 fats increases the production of compounds that heighten pain signals. For someone with long-standing back tension or hip discomfort, this imbalance can amplify sensations that were once manageable. It might explain why a favorite casserole now seems to leave the back feeling achy the next morning, or why certain creamy dishes bring a stiffness that wasn't always there. Pain does not appear out of nowhere. It often follows small, quiet patterns inside the body. In contrast, Elders in Mediterranean regions, known for maintaining mobility late into life, lean gently on oils like olive and walnut. These oils support the tissues rather than aggravate them. Their meals are not built around restriction, but around ingredients that help keep the body supple. Their traditions evolved naturally, long before science described inflammation, yet their choices reflect an understanding that simple, well-chosen fats can make the joints feel lighter and the spine more at ease. For someone who no longer cooks elaborate meals or feels overwhelmed by the idea of changing lifelong habits, shifting oils does not need to be complicated. Even adding a small spoonful of extra virgin olive oil at the end of a dish can reduce the reliance on heavier commercial oils. It requires no new recipes, no new routines, just a gentle adjustment that respects energy levels and daily limitations. Sometimes it is these quiet gestures that allow the body to feel steadier. A helpful way to imagine this is to picture the spine as an old rope bridge stretching across time. Each rope represents the tissues that hold us upright and allow us to move through the day. The oils we choose determine whether those ropes remain flexible or begin to fray. Some fats encourage the fibers to stay smooth and responsive. Others irritate them until every small movement becomes a reminder of age. This understanding does not ask anyone to abandon the foods that bring comfort, but it offers clarity about why certain meals might leave a lingering ache. When the body receives ingredients that soothe rather than inflame, mornings feel lighter, steps feel safer, and daily life becomes just a little more comfortable. There are foods that stay with us for a lifetime, and dairy often feels like one of them. Yet after 60, the body may no longer handle certain forms of dairy with the same ease. Reduced lactase activity can create quiet digestive irritation that pulls energy away from muscle repair, leaving the legs more tired and everyday tasks feeling heavier. This irritation also raises cortisol, a hormone that gradually weakens muscle fibers. Fermented options like kefir or yogurt tend to behave more gently, easing the stomach and supporting recovery. When the gut feels calmer, strength becomes easier to maintain and movements feel less demanding. Small, thoughtful food choices protect strength, ease pain, and help the aging body move with dignity, clarity, and steady independence.